Friends, using this lockdown period, let me say something about an interesting topic, factor analysis. Students of various social science disciplines and management often come to us to talk about factor analysis and they want to know what exactly this is. So I thought that let me explain what factor analysis in a simple language, and I believe that this lecture would be of some use to you. Friends, factor analysis is a technique which is called data reduction technique, and it's part of multivariate research methods. It's used widely in social sciences for several purposes. Apart from data reduction, it is also used for dimensionality analysis and scale construction. Factor analysis can be used for hypothesis testing, for exploratory analysis and confirmatory analysis, and in situations of multicollinearity in which all your variables are highly correlated with each other and you cannot apply other techniques like multiple regression analysis, you can apply factor analysis in several situations. Although multicollinearity remains a problem in other more advanced techniques like path analysis or factor analysis also. Then factor analysis uh, gives you an idea of surrogate variables. Basically what it means is that suppose you are working with 100 variables. Say you are measuring alienation among workers in the informal sector, and you have collected data on 100 items. Just you read the literature and on the basis of that you identify 100 items which to you reveal some aspect of alienation. Now this alienation as per theory may be divided into a small number of dimensions such as powerlessness, meaninglessness, and lack of sustenance, etc. So then the question is, can these 100 variables be grouped in a manner that we get a small number of dimensions, 4, 5, 6, 7. It depends on the pattern of the data. But a smaller number of dimensions which represent almost as much or a high percentage of variation in the data. Basically, these factors are linear combinations of variables. See, if your variables are all standardized, then standard deviation of each variable or variance of each variable is unity. So if you have 100 variables, then the total variance of the data is 100. And each variable contributes to this total variance of 100 by 1 unit. But suppose there are linear combinations of variables, say 4 or 5, which can explain 80% or 70% variance in the data, then it's possible for us to work with those factors or those dimensions. Maybe by looking at to what extent a factor depends on various variables. We are also able to give a theoretical name to this dimension. The principle is very simple. Suppose one of my factors is 2x1 plus 15x3. Then it means that this factor depends on x3 much more than on x2. And by looking at these kinds of permutations and combinations, I may be able to name, or experts may be able to name, the factors depending on their dependence on different variables. You can also identify variables which are most closely related to these factors. So factor 1, factor 2, factor 3. Which variables are highly correlated, or with which variables factors show maximum correlation. उन variables को हम surrogate variables कह सकते हैं. So if you are not so comfortable working with factors, or your experts, you can talk to 5, 6 experts who will help you to name the factors. But if you're not comfortable with the factors, you can identify factors and then the variables which are most closely associated with these factors. So these variables can be called surrogate variables, and then in more advanced applications of multivariate techniques, you can just ignore other variables and work with these surrogate variables only, which are most closely associated with the factors. The questions which students often ask about factor analysis are, do the data permit or require factor analysis? What are factors? What are the steps in factor analysis? How many factors are important? Are there different methods of factoring? Are factors dependent or independent? What is the indicator of success in factor analysis? Are there other alternative techniques to attain the same objective of analysis as factor analysis does? What more is required to learn factor analysis? Now, friends, this question, whether data permit you to apply factor analysis, is an important question. And this depends on two things. Factor analysis would be most suited when there is correlation among the various variables. Suppose there is no relationship between any two variables. And if you make a correlation matrix, then it comes out to be an identity matrix. Means variables correlate with them only and not with other variables. Now, this situation is not fit for application of factor analysis, and to test whether this is the case, you apply Bartlett's test of sphericity. This Bartlett's test of sphericity tests whether your correlation matrix differs from the identity matrix. Because if variables do not correlate among themselves, then it means each variable is a factor. Each variable must be considered independently. And second issue is that there should not be perfect correlation. And correlations among variables should be widely diffused. For the second thing, we calculate KMO. And this KMO can be calculated for each variable separately and also for the entire set of data. For the data set, you can calculate KMO as given in this formula. Here R refers to correlation coefficient. So Rij is the correlation coefficient between two variables, xi and xj. And Uij is the partial correlation between xi and xj when effects of other variables have been removed. Now, if this KMO is less than 0.5, then it means that data are not suitable for application of factor analysis. If KMO is more than 0.8, then it's very good. So in KMO and in Bartlett's test of sphericity, we are testing that the correlation should be widely diffused and there should be some correlation, that the correlation matrix is not an identity matrix. So this Bartlett's test of sphericity, which is basically to compare the actual correlation matrix with the identity matrix with the help of chi-square. If the chi-square value is significant, as in this case, 0.000, p-value is 0.000, so it is significant. It means that the difference between actual correlation matrix and the identity matrix is statistically significant. What are factors? In algebraic term, factors are linear combinations of original variables. But we call them latent variables as opposed to measurements or observed variables. And these are theoretical constructs. For applied researchers, they become theoretical constructs which affect various measurements. Like here in this diagram, there are two factors, factor 1 and factor 2. Factor 1 affects variable 1, variable 2, and variable 3. Factor 2 affects variable 4, variable 5, and variable 6. Then there is a common factor which affects all the variables. And there is some relationship between factors also. So the relationship between variables and factors. Factors are latent, means they are hidden. In some books, you will not find the direction of these arrows showing relationships. In factor analysis, they simply talk of some kind of relationship, but they do not specify whether variable affect the factor or factor affects the variable. There is a relationship. Relationship is a more neutral term than saying that there is a cause and effect, a relationship between variables and factors. So factor analysis can be used to identify these hidden factors, which are basically linear combinations of original variables or measurements or observed variables. And by looking at the coefficients of different variables in the equation of a factor, we identify what this factor, what dimension of the data this factor might show. The factor analysis can also be used for preparing scales like gender sensitive human development index or socioeconomic status as factor. That can also be called a kind of factor. A gender sensitive human development index can be called a factor, and it depends, it's a function of a number of socio-economic variables which are actually observed. Somebody can observe separately for males and females, participation in politics, life expectancy, and so on. And by making a combination of these variables, by making a function of these variables, linear or non-linear, you arrive at the index called gender sensitive human development index. So it can be called a latent variable. We have not observed human development index. What you have observed is income, years of schooling, and participation in the political processes. But you have not observed index. Index is a kind of factor. Now, what are the steps in factor analysis? Actually, in research, everywhere, whether factor analysis, discriminant analysis, or multiple regression, or any technique, techniques come later. First of all, you make an exhaustive study of literature. Review of literature is first. And in review of literature must also be done in a systematic fashion and in a justifiable manner. In research, everything needs to be justified, defended. You have to defend that representative and exhaustive literature was considered. How? By going to libraries or by using search engines on computers. And how did you finally arrive at articles, books, documents, data, which became part of your review of literature? Then you develop some measures to study a variable in a very general sense, say alienation or modernization or empowerment. So you develop some measures of them, a large number of measures. All those things which come to your mind, all those aspects of the problem which come to your mind will help you in constructing measures. Then you collect data, then coding, then preparing for analysis, then examination of correlation matrix and patterns of relationships. If no variable correlates with any other variable, or if there are perfect correlations and relationships are not diffuse kind of, then you do not apply factor analysis. And then you decide to go for factor analysis, from correlation matrix to factor analysis. Then there is a concept of rotation, and finally you check to what extent, if you have fitted a model in which you conceptualize some latent variables and observed variables, whether that model actually fits the empirical data or not. The principle of parsimony suggests that number of factors should be as low as possible. But the explanatory model must have good explanatory power also. You also look at explanatory powers of factors and draw the script plot. Actually, factor analysis जो आपको variables के linear combination देता है, तो उनके अपने variances भी calculate किए जा सकते हैं. जैसे मैंने एग्जांपल दिया कि आप 100 वेरिएबल से शुरू करते हैं, हर एक वेरिएबल का कंट्रीब्यूशन वेरिएंस में 1 है, तो टोटल वेरिएंस टू बी एक्सप्लेन्ड इज 100. Now, first of the factors or the factor which explains maximum variation in the data. And to begin with, we apply principal component analysis, in which number of factors is same as the number of variables, and 100% variation is explained. Now, it's possible that the first factor explains 50% of the total variation in the data, means the variance of the first factor is 50. Then comes the second variable or second factor. Second factor explains, say, 30%. Then third factor explains 20%, then 10%, like that. And a stage will come when a factor will explain that factor, and subsequent factors will explain less than one part of the total variance. Means original variables had the variance of 1. Now these subsequent factors will have variance less than 1. They are not even as good as the original variables. So those factors can be discarded. Now you can arrange all these factors in terms of their explanatory power or variance, which is also called eigenvalue. So take first factor as the factor with highest eigenvalue, then second, then third. Plot number of factors on x-axis and their eigenvalues on y-axis, and you find a scree plot. Now all those factors which have the eigenvalue of 1 or more may be considered, and those factors which have eigenvalue or whose variance is less than 1, less than the variance that each variable contributes, those factors may be ignored. So in the final analysis, you may have 4 or 5 factors or 6. SPSS or other packages that you use for applying factor analysis give you eigenvalues of all possible factors. Originally, their number is same as the number of variables. So you will get, if you have variables which are 100 in number, then you will get factors which are also 100 in number. But maybe after 7 or 8 factors, you have factors whose variance is less than 1. So you discard them. This is what scree plot means. Now, how to identify factors? Factors, as I said, are identified on the basis of factor loadings. You see, here a factor matrix is given, and in columns are given factors 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the first column are written variables, variable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and so on. Now, if I explain the first column of correlation coefficients, factor loadings are actually correlation coefficients. And in principal component analysis, we also make an assumption that the factors are orthogonal or independent. Variables are correlated among them, but factors can be taken to be independent of each other or orthogonal. Here, 0.476 means the correlation that factor 1 has with variable 1. 0.527 is the correlation that factor 1 has with variable 2. Like that. The correlation between factor 1 and variable 3 is 0.499. Then variable 4 with factor 1 is 0.481, and so on. So for all the factors separately, you can see their correlations with variables. As a matter of fact, you can also write that F1 or factor 1 is 0.476 into variable 1 plus 0.527 into variable 2 plus 0.499 variable 3 plus 0.481 variable 4 and so on. And by looking at these correlation coefficients, you can say that factor 1 depends maximally on variable 2 because uh, that correlation is 0.527. You can also compare uh, relationship with variables with different factors. See variable 13. Variable 13 has a correlation of 0.482 with factor 1, 0.298 with factor 2, like that. The maximum correlation is with factor 1. Variable 13 has a maximum correlation with factor 1 and minimum with factor 4. And by looking at these dependencies, relative dependencies of factors on different variables, you can try to imagine what these factors could be. That will depend on the problem at hand. Just by looking at correlation matrix, you cannot name them. By looking at what these variables are, you have to interpret what these factors could be. In principal component analysis, first factor is considered to be the best solution. And if the purpose of factor analysis is to develop an index or to arrive at a scale, then this factor 1, which is based on all the variables, all 13 variables in this table, and you can write factor 1 as a linear combination of all these variables, that F1 equal to 0.476 V1 plus 0.527 V2 and so on, up to 0.482 V3. Look at signs, some of the correlations are positive, some are negative. In studying degree of dependency, you consider only magnitude of the correlation. Minus plus sign shows whether factors and variables move in the same direction or not. So this is how factors are interpreted, and a large number of variables can be reduced to a small number of factors. And you may also go for rotation of factors. Rotation of factors will mean identifying factors which actually explain the total variance best. And this is done by rotating the axis. Rotation, there are so many techniques of rotating the factors, Varimax, Quartimax. If you really apply factor analysis in your research, you have to go deeper into what these techniques are. Actually, the purpose is to help the researcher or the experts to identify the nature of the factor. Imagine that all the correlations in column 1 are very close to each other. Then you will face difficulty in identifying which factors are close to which variables. And to make the judgment more clear, some techniques are used. which create maximum diversity between correlations, either row-wise or column-wise. And this is the purpose of Varimax and Quantimax. Then you can more clearly distinguish between different factors. Although in principle, all factors are important and there is not one best solution. So I keep on telling students कि देखिए एडवांस स्टैटिस्टिकल टेक्निक्स में मैथमेटिक्स से सब कुछ नहीं है और साइंस से सब कुछ नहीं है. एडवांस रिसर्च उतनी ही बड़ी एक आर्ट है जितनी साइंस. साइंस तो मैट्रिक्स एस्पेक्ट, मैट्रिक्स अलजेब्रा, इन कैलकुलेटिंग इनवर्स ऑफ ए मैट्रिक्स, ये सब तो उसका साइंटिफिक पार्ट है, मैथमेटिकल पार्ट. लेकिन फैक्टर्स आप 5 लेंगे, 7 लेंगे, 9 लेंगे, वेरीमैक्स यूज करेंगे, क्वार्टीमैक्स यूज करेंगे, या कोई और टेक्निक यूज करेंगे, या दोनों का कोई और कॉम्बिनेशन यूज करेंगे. इस सब में आपका एक्सपीरियंस और आपकी क्लैरिटी और इसमें एक आर्ट भी है, क्रिएटिविटी. आप चाहते तो ये कि एज मच एज पॉसिबल स्ट्रक्चर इज सिंप्लीफाइड. Sometimes you want that your factors should be independent, and this was one problem that we faced in multicollinearity, that our variables were correlated with each other. In factor analysis, it is possible to have factors which are orthogonal. Like in this table, F1, F2, F3, F4 are orthogonal. If you correlate factor 1, if you correlate scores for different individual, different subjects, different objects for different factors by using their linear combinations in terms of these correlation coefficients, then the correlation between factors will come out to be zero. But sometimes orthogonal factors are not the best solution, and you want oblique factors, because logic suggests that the factors you are trying to look for, or which are hidden, which are latent, can be interrelated or independent. Oh, sorry, or dependent. Whether you go for dependent factors or independent factors, dependent are oblique, independent are orthogonal. It depends on the purpose of the study. Factors may be seen as dimensions of the outcome variables and used as independent variables in more advanced research. So once you have found out that powerlessness, meaninglessness, resourcelessness are the dimensions of alienation, you can separately study these dimensions by using multiple regression analysis, and by regressing these factors on background variables or other socioeconomic variables, organizational variables, urban rural background, and so on. And these factors may also be factored further. Some factor analysis techniques and books suggest further factoring of factors, but usually this is not done. It's a possibility and it can be done. How do you finally look for, in statistical analysis, you may apply regression or path analysis or factor or structural equation model or anything. Ultimately, you also want to know whether what you have done is the right thing, whether the data, the pattern justified use of these techniques. So same issue arises in factor analysis, and to show that your factor analysis is well done or there is a good amount of fit between your theory that you are trying to propose and the data, you can calculate what we call reproduced correlation matrix. Correlation matrix is the matrix that shows the correlation between observed variables. And reproduced correlation matrix is going back from factors to variables. If factors can be written as linear combinations of their variables, variables can also be thought of as linear combinations of factors. So you can, after doing factor analysis, you can calculate values of variables from different factors. And if then you calculate correlation coefficients between values of the variables on the basis of your model, factor model. That is called reproduced correlation matrix. And uh, and then the reproduced correlation matrix is shown. Here the diagonals are the communalities of the variables. Communalities of variables mean, communality word means what part of the variance of the variable has been explained by the model. Like in the first diagonal term in this table is 0.9826. That means communality of variable 1 in this model, factor analytic model, is 98%. Variable 1 had a variance of 1, and 98% of that variance has been explained by the model. Similarly, variable 6, communality is 0.82. So that means only 82% variation in variable 6 is explained by the model. So this is how these diagonal terms are explained. The lower left triangle of the matrix shows the reproduced correlations. So correlation between V2 and V1 as emerging from the application of factor analysis is minus 0.3362. Okay. And the upper right triangle showing the residuals. Residuals means the difference between actual correlation and the reproduced correlation. Now, there is another technique called confirmatory factor analysis. Sometimes students use, they think that confirmatory factor analysis is more advanced. In research, ordinarily, even though you are applying multiple regression model or multivariate model, I would recommend only to go up to exploratory. But sometimes when situation demands and there are no measurement errors or you have hard data, good reliability, and it's possible, you think it is possible to go for model building, your data are okay to go for model building, which seldom happens in sociological, anthropological types of data. But in management, yes, it's possible. Then you apply confirmatory factor analysis. The difference between the two is that in exploratory factor analysis, you are only looking for models. You are fitting a model. But in confirmatory factor analysis, you are testing. There are so many measures of goodness of fit. Most of them are based on the concept of chi-square. By comparing two covariance matrices in terms of chi-square, you can check whether the goodness of fit is okay or not. There are so many measures, but I'm saying that the basic idea behind them is to compare covariance matrices or correlation matrix on the matrices on the basis of chi-square. And this goodness of fit gives you whether your model is fitted well. But remember that if you are going for confirmatory factor analysis, you should have another set of data. Or what you can do that if you have obtained data from 700 respondents, use 350, half of them, for fitting the model for exploratory factor analysis. And the remaining data, the data from the other 350 respondents for confirmatory factor analysis. I have seen that in PhD research, students apply confirmatory factor analysis to the same set of data. That is not a good practice. You should not use confirmatory factor analysis and exploratory analysis on the same set of data. Sometimes students also ask that is factor analysis the only way to do analysis of latent variables, or there are other possibilities? So I would say yes, there are other possibilities. But generally, they are less used. And practically, there is no alternative to unearth the underlying factors. I'm saying practically. And what these other techniques will do, by suitable modifications in the technique, factor analysis can also do. However, to develop indices, you can, like I was saying, that factor 1 can be taken as the best scale or the index of something based on a large number of variables. You can use subjective weights also, or intuitive methods, or you can use weights developed by using factor analysis in some other researches. Some other techniques you may like to know about as alternatives to factor analysis, and you may like to read more on them, are correspondence analysis for categorical variables. Categorical variables are non-numeric variables whose values can be put in certain categories only. They are qualitative variables. And if you have qualitative variables, males, females, poor, rich, rural area, medium-sized town, city, metropolitan cities, categorical variables of that type, you can go for correspondence analysis. There are also techniques of data visualization and maps showing similarity between rows, columns, and association between the two. This is something that shows the correspondence analysis on the basis of 2 dimensions, 1 and 2, and places different categories of officers at different places along these 2 dimensions. And then you can draw some inference. Finally, the biplot correspondence map is obtained. Note the axis now encompass the most extreme of both the uniplots. Actually, I'm more concerned with factor analysis in this presentation. So let me stop here. And there is another technique of multidimensional scaling also as an alternative, but maybe sometime I can talk to you about those techniques in depth. For today's presentation, I just confine myself to factor analysis. At the end, I must say that factor analysis has some limitations also. It requires large data. How big? There is no rule as such, but generally the case variable ratio has to be 20-25. What I mean is, if you have, say, 50 variables, and to maintain case variable ratio of 20, 50 multiplied by 20, you must have a sample of size 1000. If you have a bigger sample, better it is, but not less than 1000. If you have 20 variables, then a case variable ratio of 25 will mean a minimum sample size of 500. But these are ad hoc rules, and in different books, different values of these variables, these ratios can be suggested. I would recommend that the case variable ratio should be 25, which means the number of observations should be total number of variables in your study multiplied by 25. A limitation of factor analysis is that it may not always produce meaningful or interpretable results or factors. Then your efforts are just wasted. Don't be disheartened. If you are using a more advanced technique, it does not mean that you will get better results. You're trying, but your uh, exercise may be failed. Sometimes oblique rotation produces simple structure, though not independent variables, and therefore we will not always prefer orthogonal factors. Sometimes we prefer oblique factors. In oblique rotations, loadings are not covariances or correlations between variables and factors. In both orthogonal and oblique factoring, uniqueness remains the same. How? There is a concept of canonical correlation. Let me spend a few seconds on this, because sometimes, you see, you know the concept of correlation coefficient. If there are two variables x and y, you can certainly calculate correlation coefficient between them at zero order, or Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient. But if there are two vectors, x and y are vectors, and x is measured in terms of x1, x2, x3, y is measured in terms of y1, y2, y3, then you can develop x and y as latent variables and then calculate the value of correlation between x and y, and that is called canonical correlation. So canonical correlation means correlation between two sets of observation, while multiple regression involves a single dependent variable and a set of independent variables. The canonical correlation involves a set of dependent variables only. This is an example of structural equation modeling which I was referring to. So you posit a model, fit it through exploratory analysis on one set of data or half of the data, and then confirm or go for confirmatory factor analysis on the other half or the other set of data. Friend, this is a small presentation on factor analysis. And what I have tried to say that sometimes you are dealing with a large number of variables and you want to reduce, you want to manage them, you want to reduce these variables into a small number of theoretical or latent means hidden or theoretical variables or dimensions. By using factor analysis, it's possible to do so. Uh, if if further analysis is to be done in terms of observed variables only, then you first apply factor analysis and then see which observed variables are closest to them. So factors are F1, F2, F3, F4. Suppose I find that factor 1 is highly correlated with variable 45. Then I can replace factor 1 by variable 45 like that. And then the further analysis is done on the basis of surrogate variables. Okay. Factor analysis can help us in identifying independent factors while the original variables or observed variables, we have multicollinearity. This is another advantage, but sometimes the model requires that the factors are not really independent. They are called oblique. And there are various ways, rotations and all, for arriving at the right factor loadings or making right uh, combinations of variables as factors. Uh, in a more advanced study of factor analysis, we can do that, but not as part of this simple and introductory